Hi everyone, this is Sean. Welcome back to my channel. Please press the thumbs up button, subscribe, share, comment. I appreciate all the dialogue and I appreciate all the comments. Thank you everyone for your support over the years. I really appreciate it. If you're wondering where I'm at, I'm actually here in Sedona, Arizona. As you can see, this place is immaculate. This place is beautiful. There's nice trees. You can hear the water from the creek. Early in the day, I took a long hike with my kids and it was fantastic. The weather is just great. It's about maybe 68 degrees, 70 degrees. And you can hear these little bugs in the trees, the birds chirping. This is just a nice place to be, just to get your mind right. Make sure that at least one time out of the year, you guys make some type of a vacation retreat, just so that you can get your mind right and just relax. So since I'm out here, I want to talk about North Hollywood, California, or the Hollywood area of California. That area is patrolled by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. The city council voted to replace 4 deputies with 30 unarmed security ambassadors. Was this a good move or not? I don't want to show you video. I mean, I do. But the thing is, if I show you video, you guys know what happens. I can't risk this channel being demonetized again, so I'll show you as much as I can. But basically, what you have are 30 unarmed security ambassadors. They wear these nice colored blue shirts. I don't know what security company it is. But what I will tell you is they got rid of 4 deputies. So you get 30 unarmed security ambassadors in exchange for 4 deputies. There's supposedly a cost-saving measure, but is this really effective? Well, let's talk about the incident first. And the disagreement is that there's a handful of unarmed security ambassadors. I think they're on the bicycles or on foot, and they're observing this incident happen. And the outrage was that they didn't do nothing. So we need to talk about what is their authority and what type of power do they have, and is this even a good idea? Generally, even on these government contracts, you have no special powers. You have the powers of any other private person. You don't have police officer powers, again, depending on the contract. Now, if the police department or the police agency wants to agree through some type of written memorandum of understanding that security has limited peace officer powers, and that's a different story. But I'm not too sure that this is the story here. I don't even know what security company this is. You guys know, but I don't right now. But generally, you don't have special powers. When you see an incident unfold, especially a felony, and I think what we saw was a felony, your powers as a private person or as a security officer are just like anywhere else. You can make a private person's arrest for a felony that's either committed in your presence or not committed in your presence, as long as you have reasonable cause to believe that that person who you're placing under private person's arrest is the person that's responsible for the crime, and there has to be in fact a felony committed. So if there was never a felony committed, okay, let's just say that this was a hostile takeover, some guy was trying to repossess his vehicle. If you're wrong, there's no cushion spot for you. There's no exemption because you're wrong. You see, police officers can make mistakes, and they make a lot of mistakes. Law enforcement officers can make mistakes. If they made a mistake, all they have to do is issue, and this is California, issue an 849B certificate. And if they did make an arrest, they could just issue this certificate and basically say that this was never an arrest, this was a detention, and no charges are being requested at this time. If you're private security, you can't make those mistakes, and you can't issue an 849B certificate. Now again, the 849B certificate is a certificate that is California based. Most of the other states have something like that. Now let's talk about qualified immunity. Now there's a huge trade-off with qualified immunity. If you have qualified immunity as a security officer, it's because you're in a government function. And the trade-off is basically that you can be liable for civil rights violation. That's the trade-off. Everybody out there, they want qualified immunity. That's great, but the trade-off is you could be individually liable for civil rights violation. Okay? And what we tend to see is these civil rights violations are being investigated normally in the prison system. When there's a private prison or private correctional officers at these prisons, if they use excessive force, then under civil rights violations, they could be held liable for cruel and unusual punishment. That's the Eighth Amendment. The trade-off for that is there's some degree of qualified immunity. I don't have enough time on camera to explain what qualified immunity they have, but there's usually some type of limited degree, and then sometimes there's not. Okay, there's just a huge trade-off. Now, when you're working private security under these government contracts, remember, you can't make mistakes like the police can. You normally don't have qualified immunity. As for powers, you don't normally have special powers. And there's another power that I want to talk about. There's power because of the badge that you have, because of the weapons that you have, maybe pepper spray, a firearm. That does give you a degree of power and control. That's generally not the type of power that you want to exercise on the people as law enforcement officers. Okay, people normally obey the law. They normally listen to law enforcement. I mean, at least like 99% of the time, just because they think that they believe it's the best thing to do. With security, there's always resistance. There's, hey, you know what? Who are you? I'm not going to listen to you because you're a private person. I'm a private person. But most of the time, people tend to cooperate with private security. Most of the time, at least when I work private security, and I have about maybe 5 years off and on private security, most people listen to me. I know that some people on this channel say that nobody ever listens to them. I don't know what to tell you, but I work security on bars, clubs, malls, hospitals, HOAs, you name it, and most people listen to me. Okay, that's when they listen to you. You're portraying yourself to have some type of authority, and again, because of the badge, the gun, sometimes not even the gun, but just the uniform gives you that power. And even the handcuffs, there's some sort of power. Now, that's not the power that you want to exercise, but people tend to follow that power. There's also there's authority, okay, and generally you would have authority, and I alluded to this earlier, if there's some type of MOU, memorandum of understanding, with a law enforcement agency chief or executive, and maybe the head of the private security company, or maybe even the client. But there's some type of authority given. With what happened in this North Hollywood situation, actually I think it was West Hollywood. I might have said North Hollywood in the beginning. I think that the security officers did what they're supposed to do. They observe and report. If we expect them to do more, then we need to pay them more, and maybe offer some type of qualified immunity. I mean, complete qualified immunity. But they did what they were supposed to do, observe and report. Even if I know that the media has been bashing on them, stating that they're unarmed. Even if they're armed, they should just be observing and reporting. That's generally what we do in private security. Yes, there's hands-on security companies, but generally speaking, for most private security companies, we are observe and report, and they did a wonderful job doing that. I just don't think replacing 4 sworn deputies with 30 unarmed security ambassadors is the best thing to do, and that's just because of the lack of authority that they have, and the lack of power as well. Now, I've seen this happen with law enforcement agencies. Actually, where I work at, I kind of disagree with how they want to structure my place of work. They want to keep hiring officers, and I think where I'm at, just 4 or 5 officers on a patrol shift is fine, as long as you're supplementing those officers with non-sworn community service officers or cadets that are unarmed. Most of the calls for service that police respond to there's no need to have a firearm or some type of weapon. Most of the incidents, these officers can respond to cold calls for service, or these calls that generally don't involve any type of violence. I think that's where we can use these unarmed security ambassadors. Something else to consider is that the more security officers that you hire in contract, the more of a chance of the need for a law enforcement officer to be contacted. I mean, you got 30 more eyes and ears out there. You think that they're not going to see anything? You think that they're not going to hear anything? What are they going to end up doing? They're going to end up calling a law enforcement officer. They're going to end up calling a deputy sheriff. Well, there's 4 less. Those of you who are entrepreneurs and you're thinking about getting a contract just like this, just keep in mind that your insurance policy is going to go up the roof. Whenever you're engaging in type of government operations, government contracts, the insurance premium is extremely high. So just be careful with that.